Good evening, my name is Leandro D. Guzman, and I will be presenting on the Cybertronian War in the aligned continuity of the Transformers series. This is my audience.
Embarrass me.
So most of the story actually comes from a video game called Fall of Cybertron. And before getting into the actual war, I thought it would be important to talk about what Cybertron is and its inhabitants. So Cybertron is a planet made completely out of metal, and instead of having just a normal planet's core like a solid or molten metal, it has something of a computer where it controls the planet's terrain and everything like that. So Cybertron, the people that live on Cybertron are called Cybertronians. They are completely mechanical again, and they have the ability to turn into vehicles or animals. And the Cybertronian society is split up into two different kinds of castes. There's a lower caste, which have gladiators, slaves, and miners, and then there's a higher caste, which have librarians, council members, and scientists. Council members are, of course, the leaders of Cybertronian society, and they dictate the rules and the caste system actually working. Now, this one gladiator by the name of Megatronus is very unhappy with this. So he uses his popularity as one of the best gladiators on the planet to rally his people against the government, or at least against certain senators wanting the caste system to be in place. And and in the higher caste system, there's actually a librarian who shares these ideals named Orion Pax. So he hears about Megatronus, and he goes to talk to him, so that way they could possibly formulate a plan to abolish all the slavery and the unequal treatment of everyone. Eventually, Orion Pax gets a meeting between Megatronus and the council to actually happen. But here, instead of preaching equality for everyone, Megatronus proposes that he is allowed to control the entire planet and dominate everyone, so that way the planet can achieve peace through tyranny. This is not at all what Orion and Megatronus agreed on. So they remove Megatronus from the stage, and they allow Orion to speak, where he talks about the ideals they initially did: abolishment of slavery, equal treatment of everyone, stuff like that, a healthy society. And then because of this, they grant him the title of Prime, which means that he is the wisest and strongest person on the planet. And actually, a lot of people will look up to him as a leader. Now, Megatronus is jealous of this because he wanted the title of Prime, so he sees this as a betrayal. So he goes back to his gladiator pit, and he rallies his people again, but this time to actually go to war against the higher caste, which throws the entire planet into a war for hundreds of years. Now, eventually, Megatronus gets this idea to infect the planet's core with something called Dark Energon, which for some reason he has a psychic connection to. He thinks that this will allow him to win the war, but eventually, when he actually does infect the planet with Dark Energon, it just poisons it. So the computer that controlled the entire planet no longer has control. But not only that, but the core of the planet was also used to produce something called Energon, which is similar to a battery for most of these Transformers, which means that without this Energon production, everyone will die. So Orion Pax, now named Optimus Prime, takes his followers, which are named the Autobots, and they try to evacuate the planet and search for a new home. But Megatronus doesn't like this, so he decides to shoot down any shuttle that is exiting the planet to find a new home. And eventually, there's only one shuttle left, which they call the Ark, and the Ark is low on fuel. So to find fuel, they send out scouts across the planet, and 2 scouts are actually able to find this one tower which sits on a pool of energon, and they try to reroute all the energon which is the fuel for the shuttle, to the actual shuttle. But the issue is that it is being guarded by Decepticons, and so but eventually the Autobots are able to reroute some of the energon to the shuttle, and they are able to escape. However, Megatronus somehow is able to scrap together his own shuttle, and they race the Autobots again. To their new home, so that way they can hopefully intercept the Autobots and kill them off. But this doesn't work so well, as both ships lose control, as both of them are severely damaged in a battle, and they end up crash landing on Earth, where they remain in stasis for millions of years. So essentially, they just pass out. And then that was my presentation. Thank you for listening. Here's my audience again.